The air down here tastes like dying. That's not poetic, that's just fact. 3 days submerged, 300 feet below the Gulf of Mexico, and the recycled oxygen has this metallic taste that coats your tongue, like sucking on pennies, like breathing through a filter made of human fear and machine oil. Captain Cole Harris, USS Tampa, Virginia-class attack submarine. It's 0347 hours on October 22nd. And I need to tell you what happened down here because I'm not completely sure we're getting out alive. My hand's shaking as I write this. Been shaking for about 6 hours now. Not because I'm scared. Well, not just because I'm scared. It's the CO2. Carbon dioxide buildup. Our scrubbers are working overtime, but with 132 men breathing the same air for 72 hours straight, the systems can't quite keep up. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen just walked past. My XO. She didn't say anything, just gave me that look. The one that says, "How much longer can we hold out?" I didn't answer because I don't know. Nobody knows. Outside this hull, there are things hunting us. Chinese submarines, surface ships, aircraft dropping sonar buoys every few miles, listening for the sound of American steel creeping through dark water. They know we're here. They just don't know exactly where. Let me back up, tell you how we got into this mess. 3 days ago, everything was normal. October 20th. We were on a standard patrol off the Florida coast, training exercise, testing some new sonar gear. The kind of routine operation that makes up 90% of submarine duty. Boring, but boring keeps you alive. I was asleep in my rack when Chen knocked. 0200 hours. I knew something was wrong the second I saw her face. Chen doesn't panic, doesn't show fear. But that night, standing in my doorway with red emergency lighting casting shadows across her face, she looked rattled. Radio room. Now. I followed her forward through narrow passages that smelled like hydraulic fluid and old coffee, and then sleeping in their racks. Cramped bunks stacked 3 high. Nobody knew yet that the world had just ended. Radio room was tiny, barely bigger than a closet. Our comms officer, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, was hunched over his console like he was praying. Maybe he was. Kid's only 26. Pale skin gone ghost white in the red light. "Talk to me," I said. Webb handed me a flimsy. His hand was shaking worse than mine is now. I read it and read it again because my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Flash, 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 2. All submarines, Atlantic, from Com Sublint. Subject, immediate combat operations. Hostilities commenced against United States by People's Republic of China. Multiple attacks confirmed against CONUS targets. New York Harbor under assault. Boston Harbor under assault. Norfolk compromised. Chinese naval forces operating in Atlantic approaches. All submarines authorize weapons free against PRC naval forces. Maintain radio silence unless contact report required. Preserve boat integrity. Await further orders. The paper felt weird in my hands. Too light for something that heavy. Like holding a death sentence printed on standard Navy letterhead.
"Get me verification," I told Webb, but my mouth was saying the words while my brain was somewhere else entirely, thinking about my parents in Tampa, my sister teaching 3rd graders who probably didn't know yet that China had just kicked off World War III. Over the next 20 minutes, we got confirmation from 4 different sources. Fleet Command, 2nd Fleet Headquarters, the Pentagon, though that transmission cut off halfway through and never came back. We were at war. The United States of America was at war with China, and we were sitting in a steel tube under the ocean with 24 torpedoes and nobody to tell us what the hell to do with them. Chen's voice pulled me back. "Your orders." I was the captain, the guy with answers, the guy who was supposed to know what to do when the world caught fire. "Take us to periscope depth, slow and quiet." We crept upward through dark water like a shark, rising toward moonlight. Master Chief Harold Stone handled the ballast control. 30 years in submarines, that man could feel the boat through the soles of his feet. If anyone could get us to periscope depth without advertising our presence to every sonar operator in the Gulf, it was Stone. At 60 feet, I raised the scope, rotated it slow, taking in black water, darker sky, distant glow of lights along the Florida coast. Nothing unusual, just peaceful October night off Tampa Bay. You'd never know that somewhere up north, American cities were burning. Anything on radar? Negative, sir. Nothing on radar didn't mean nothing was there. Modern warships hide well when they want to. Downscope. Take us to 300 feet, course 270, speed 5 knots. We slip back down into the crushing darkness where submarines live. Where the pressure outside could flatten a man like a beer can. Where one tiny mistake, one microscopic crack in the hull, and the ocean kills all of you in about 2 seconds. In my stateroom, I read our patrol orders again. We'd been assigned at area Golf 7, 50 square miles of ocean off the coast. Our job was monitoring Russian submarine activity. Standard stuff, Cold War games that never quite ended. But now we were hunting Chinese boats. Anything with a red star that wanted to hurt America. Question was, where were they? Captain to control. I headed forward. The control room is the heart of the Tampa, where we fight and navigate and exist in red light and whispered words that don't carry through water to listening hydrophones. Chen was waiting by the sonar station. We've got something. Subsurface contact, bearing 045, range 40 miles, moving slow, deep. Confidence level, 60%. The signature doesn't match our database. We had acoustic profiles for every submarine on Earth, including Chinese boats. If this contact didn't match anything, new class? Or they're masking their signature. Can't hide from sonar completely, so sound like something else. I looked at the sonar display. Green traces that meant everything to trained operators and looked like abstract art to everyone else. Somewhere out there in 40 miles of dark water, something was moving. Something that didn't want to be found. How far to patrol area boundary? 15 miles. We could chase the contact, leave our assigned area, maybe find out what was making that weird signature. Or we could follow orders and stay put. My crew was watching me, waiting for the decision. Good people, every one of them. Volunteers who chose to live in a steel tube under the ocean because they believed in something bigger than themselves. Maintain course and speed. If it comes to us, we engage. Otherwise, we stick to orders. Chen nodded. She understood. Early in a war, when nobody knows what's happening yet, you follow the orders you've got. You don't go chasing shadows into unknown situations where you might find something worse than shadows. But I saw disappointment on some faces. These were warriors stuck in a waiting game. Sometimes waiting is harder than fighting. 6 hours of routine patrol, if you can call anything routine when Chinese submarines are prowling the Gulf looking for Americans to kill. We maintained our pattern, deep and quiet, listening to the ocean. Our sonar techs were the best, could hear things that shouldn't be audible, identify contacts that shouldn't exist. Around 0800 hours, everything changed. Contact! Rodriguez's voice from the sonar shack, sharp with adrenaline. Subsurface contact, bearing 350, range 22 miles. Definite submarine, high confidence. High confidence. Rodriguez was sure. Rodriguez was never wrong. Classification? Working on it, Captain. Signature is... Wait, sir, this is Chinese Type 093 Shan-class attack submarine. High confidence. There it was. Chinese submarine in the Gulf of Mexico, 22 miles away, probably hunting the same water we were. This was real now. Battle stations, silent. No alarm. Can't make noise during silent running. Instead, crew materialized at their stations like ghosts, moving with practice quiet. 90 seconds later,
Tampa was ready to kill. Status? All weapons ready. Lieutenant Jake Morrison reported from the weapons station. Tubes 1 through 4 loaded with Mark 48 AdCap, vertical launch ready. Fire control solution? Working it, Captain. Target's maneuvering. Need more time. Time. Everything in submarine warfare is time. Time to calculate solutions. Time to close range. Time to shoot before they shoot you. Time to stay alive. Recommend we close the range, Chen said quietly, before he finds us. She was right. Closer shot meant less time for their countermeasures to work, less time for them to evade. Come left to 340, ahead slow. Tampa turned through black water like a ghost with purpose. My crew knew their jobs, done this 1,000 times in training. But training doesn't have real torpedoes. Training doesn't end with real death. Range 20 miles. 20 miles, still too far for high probability kill. Mark 48s could reach 30 miles, but at that distance, the target has forever to dodge or deploy countermeasures. Needed to get closer. 15 miles. In the zone now, where submarine captains start sweating. Close enough to shoot with decent odds. Close enough to be detected yourself. Captain, target is changing course, turning toward... Sir, she's turning toward us. Toward us. Either they'd heard something, or this was random course change. No way to know which was. Do we have solution? Affirmative. Good solution, bearing 350, range 14.2 miles. 14 miles. Close enough. I looked around the control room one last time, my crew waiting for the order that would make this war real instead of theoretical. Firing point procedures. Tube 1. Ship ready. Weapon ready. Solution ready. Tube 1, shoot. Tube 1 fired electrically. Slight shudder as our torpedo left the tube. Out there now, a Mark 48 was swimming toward the Chinese boat at 45 knots. Half a ton of high explosive and computer brains programmed to kill submarines. Tube 1 running normal. Time to target 8 minutes. Longest 8 minutes of my life. Captain, target is accelerating. She knows. Of course she knew. Their sonar heard our weapon the moment it entered the water. Now it was a race between our torpedo's brain and their captain's skill. Target launching countermeasures. The Chinese were ejecting noisemakers, trying to confuse our weapon's guidance. Standard defense sometimes worked. Tube 1 still tracking. On target. Good torpedo. Smart weapon. Target is diving, going deep, using thermal layers to hide. Classic evasion. Our weapon is following, still tracking. 6 minutes. Time crawled. Nobody spoke except for essential report. Everyone thinking the same thing. What happens if we miss? Miss, and the Chinese submarine knows exactly where we are. They shoot back. Then it's our turn to dodge and pray. 5 minutes. Target launching torpedoes, multiple launches, at least 2 fish in the water. Chinese torpedoes coming our way. Time to impact on enemy weapons. 12 minutes, Captain. They're running search pattern. 12 minutes. Our fish hits in 5. Theirs arrive in 12. 7 minutes to evade after our attack. If our attack works. 4 minutes. Control room went dead silent except for reports. Everyone watching the sonar display, watching our torpedo chase their submarine. 3 minutes. Target still diving. Depth is... Captain, they're passing test depth, going really deep. Past design limits. Very desperate move. Very brave or very scared. Probably both. 2 minutes. Weapon still tracking. Come on, just a little longer. 1 minute. 60 seconds until we found out if we could actually do this. Target turning hard to port. Last-ditch evasion, trying to beam the torpedo, smallest profile. 30 seconds. Sonar showed our torpedo closing final distance. Closer, closer, almost there. Impact! Explosion registered as bright spike on sonar. Loud, violent sound of torpedo meeting submarine. Assess target. Rodriguez focused on his display, reading acoustic returns. Multiple secondary explosions, breaking up noises. She's going down. Going down. Chinese submarine, dying. Sinking to the bottom, taking her crew with her. No satisfaction. No victory feeling. Just cold knowledge that somewhere out there, Chinese sailors were drowning in crushing darkness. Enemy torpedoes. Still active, searching. Range 15 miles, closing. 15 miles. Maybe 8 minutes before they reached us. Emergency blow. Surface the boat. Soon as we're up, activate decoy. Chen looked surprised. Surfacing during torpedo attack wasn't textbook. Chinese torpedoes are programmed to hunt submarines, and we're on the surface, we're technically a surface contact. Might confuse them long enough to deploy countermeasures. Gamble. But submarine warfare is always gambling. Emergency blow! Compressed air screamed in ballast tags, forcing out water, rocketing us towards surface. Deck tilted up steep. Unsecured gear went sliding aft. Galley dishes crashed somewhere below. We broke surface violently. Tampa leaves from the water like breaching whale. Crash back in, explosion of foam. Deploy decoy! Small device ejected from hull. Decoy deployed and active. Emergency dive. Make depth 300 feet. We crashed back beneath surface, diving as fast as we'd surfaced. Whole maneuver took 90 seconds. Long enough, hopefully, for torpedoes to lock the decoy instead of us. Enemy torpedoes acquired the decoy, both weapons turning. Yes, disparate tactics sometimes work. Torpedo impact on decoy. 2 explosions close together. Chinese fish found their target. Wrong target, but they didn't know that. All enemy weapons neutralized. I exhaled. Hadn't realized I'd been holding my breath. We had survived. Sunk Chinese submarine and survived their counterattack. First blood, first kill, first time shooting at humans with intent to kill. Should have felt different, more dramatic, more meaningful. Instead, just felt necessary. Damage report, no damage. All systems operational. Resume patrol depth, continue patrol pattern. As we settled back into routine, I could see crew starting to relax. We'd fought and won. Tampa was proven now, tested in combat. But this was just beginning. More Chinese submarines out there, more surface ships, more aircraft, all hunting Americans. And we were just one boat, with limited weapons and limited endurance. In my stateroom, I logged the engagement. Time, location, target type, weapons used, results. Cold clinical language that didn't capture what it felt like to kill entire submarine crew. Chinese boat had maybe 60 men aboard. Officers, enlisted, husbands, fathers, sons, brothers, all gone now, lying on Gulf bottom in crushed steel coffin. War is hell, but sometimes hell is necessary. I was finishing the log when Webb knocked. Captain, priority traffic from subland. More messages, more orders. I followed him to radio room. This message was longer and worse. Immediate to USS Tampa from subland subject. Operational orders. Chinese naval forces have established control of portions U.S. East Coast. New York Harbor occupied. Boston Harbor occupied. Norfolk compromised. Atlantic Fleet suffered heavy casualties in initial engagements. Intelligence indicates major Chinese amphibious operation targeting Florida coast. Estimated time of arrival, 48 hours. Your orders: proceed to patrol area Romeo 4, engage and destroy all enemy forces, preserve boat integrity. No friendly forces available for support. Good hunting. I'd read it twice. Showed 10. Florida, she said quietly. They're coming here. Here. Florida. American soil. Amphibious invasion like D-Day in reverse. Chinese Marines landing on American beaches. And we were supposed to stop them. One submarine against one entire invasion fleet. How far to Romeo 4? Chen checked charts. 80 miles southwest. Transit time at safe speed 6 hours. 6 hours to reach position before they arrived. Set course for Romeo 4. Best speed consistent with stealth. I want us on station before they show up. Hi, Captain. As Tampa turned toward new patrol area, I stared at charts. Romeo 4 was right off Tampa Bay, the city where I grew up, where my parents still lived, where my sister taught elementary school. Chinese were coming to my home, and I was going to do everything possible to stop them, even if it killed me, even if it killed all of us. Because that's what you do when someone comes for your home.
6 hours to reach Romeo 4 felt like 6 years. We crept through the Gulf at 5 knots, silent as death, every man aboard knowing what was waiting for us. Somewhere ahead, a Chinese invasion fleet was steaming toward the Florida coast. Transport ships full of Marines, destroyers, cruisers, maybe another carrier group like the one that hit New York. And us. 1 submarine. 23 torpedoes remaining after we'd used 1 to kill that Shang-class boat. The math wasn't encouraging. I was in the wardroom trying to drink coffee that tasted like diesel fuel when Chen found me. 0830 hours, October 20th. Still day 1 of whatever fresh hell this was becoming. Captain, we need to talk about weapons allocation. She sat down across from me, spread out a tactical plot on the small table. The wardroom is barely big enough for 4 people, but it's the only private space on the boat besides my stateroom. Talk to me. We've got 23 Mark 48s remaining. Intelligence says we're looking at potentially 12 to 15 transport ships, probably 6 to 8 escorts. That's maybe 23 targets. 1 fish per target. If we're lucky, if every shot hits, if none of them have decoys or countermeasures that work. She looked at me. Captain, the odds are terrible, I know. I took another sip of awful coffee. But what's the alternative? Let them land unopposed? Sir, I'm not suggesting we don't engage. I'm suggesting we need help. Other submarines, surface ships, air support. There is no help, XO. You read the message. Atlantic Fleet took heavy casualties. Norfolk's compromised. We're it. She was quiet for a moment. Then we need to be smart about this. Hit high-value targets first. Transports, not escorts. Sink the ships carrying troops. Let the escorts chase us. Made sense. Kill the transports, and the escorts become irrelevant. They can't complete the invasion without troops. We prioritize transports. Ignore escorts unless they're directly threatening us. There's another issue. She pointed at the fuel gauge notation on the tactical plot. We've been running submerged for almost 7 hours. At current speed and depth, we've got maybe 5 days of endurance before we need to surface and run the diesels. 5 days. Sounded like a lot. Until you considered we might be fighting a running battle with 20+ Chinese warships. We'll manage. Priority stopping that invasion force. Chet nodded, but I could see the concern in her eyes. She was thinking past the immediate tactical problem to the strategic reality. Even if we sank every transport ship, even if we somehow survived the engagement, where would we go? Norfolk was compromised. Other Atlantic ports were under attack. We might win the battle and still have nowhere to go home to. XO, gather the department heads. I want everyone on the same page before we reach Romeo 4. Aye, sir. 15 minutes later, we were squeezed into the wardroom. Me, Jen, Morrison from Weapons, Lieutenant Tom Bradley, who ran engineering, and Lieutenant Commander Paul Reeves, our navigator. 5 people responsible for keeping Tampa alive and fighting. Gentlemen, here's the situation. Chinese invasion fleet inbound to Florida coast. ETA approximately 42 hours. We're being tasked to engage and destroy. I let that sink in from them. We're 1 submarine against an entire amphibious task force. The odds are not in our favor, but we're all that's standing between those transport ships and American soil.
Morrison spoke up. Captain, what's our engagement doctrine? Do we shoot and scoot, or do we press the attack? We press. We keep pressing until either they're sunk or we're dead. Clear? Heads nodded. Nobody looked happy about it, but nobody argued. Engineering, what's our material condition? Bradley consulted his notes. All systems operating normally. Reactors good for another 2 years. Batteries are charged. We took no damage in the earlier engagement. Mechanically, we're sound. Weapons. 23 Mark 48s, 12 Tomahawk cruise missiles in the vertical launch tubes. Plenty of countermeasures. Morrison paused. Sir, if we're facing 20-plus targets, we're going to run out of fish before we run out of targets. Then we make every shot count. No wasted torpedoes. Solid firing solutions only. Aye, sir. Navigation. Best approach to Romeo 4. Reeves pulled out a chart. We can come in from the southwest, use the deep water channel. Puts us in good position to intercept the invasion force before they reach the continental shelf. The continental shelf, where the ocean floor rises from deep water to shallow. Once the Chinese reached shallow water, they could land their Marines. Our job was to stop them in deep water where submarines had the advantage. How deep is the water in Romeo 4? Ranges from 2,000 feet to about 500 as you approach shore. Plenty of depth for tactical operations. Good. That's our battlefield. I looked around the table at my officers. Good men, all of them. Professionals who trained for years to fight from submarines. But training and reality are different things. Training doesn't have real explosions. Training doesn't end with real death. I won't lie to you. This is going to be the hardest fight any of us have ever been in. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and there's no backup coming. I paused, but we're United States Navy submariners. This is what we do. We fight from the shadows, we hit hard, and we disappear. The Chinese won't know what killed them until they're already sinking. Hoo-yah, Captain, Morrison said quietly. Hoo-yah, the others echoed. Submariners don't do rousing speeches. We do quiet competence and professional calm. But in that moment, squeezed into the tiny wardroom, I felt something I hadn't felt since this war started. Not hope that we'd survive. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't, but hope that we could hurt the bastards. Hope that we could make them pay for every mile of American water they try to cross. Dismissed. Get your departments ready. As they filed out, Chen hung back. Captain, there's something else personal. Go ahead. My parents live in Clearwater. My sister's in Tampa with her kids. She looked at me. If this invasion succeeds, if the Chinese take the coast, they won't. Not if we can help it. But if they do, XO. I put my hand on his shoulder. We're not going to let that happen. Your family, my family, everyone on this boat has people ashore. That's why we're doing this. That's why we'll keep doing it until either they're stopped or we're dead. Nodded. Thank you, sir. After she left, I sat alone in the wardroom, staring at the tactical plot. 20-plus Chinese warships versus 1 American submarine. The smart move would be to shoot a few torpedoes, then run. Preserve the boat. Live to fight another day. But there wasn't going to be another day. Not for the people living on the Florida coast. Not for my parents in their retirement condo overlooking the bay. Not for Chen's sister and her kids. This was the day. This was the fight. We'd make it count. 14-20 hours. October 20th. Captain took control. I headed forward, squeezing through narrow passages. Crew members pressed themselves against bulkheads to let me pass, their faces showing the strain of long hours submerged. We'd been underwater for 12 hours now. Another 60 hours to go before we'd even think about surfacing. In the control room, Rodriguez was hunched over his sonar display like a man possessed. Talk to me. Multiple contacts, Captain. Lots of them. Bearing 320 through 040. Range approximately 35 miles. 35 miles. Close. Classification. Working on it, sir. I'm seeing... Jesus, Captain. I count at least 18 distinct contacts. Mix of large and small. Some are definitely transport size. Others match Chinese destroyer profiles. 18 contacts. The invasion fleet. Right where intelligence said they'd be. What's their formation? Classic amphibious assault formation. Transports in the center, escorts on the flanks and forward. They're moving at about 12 knots, heading 290, straight for the Florida coast. I studied the sonar display.
ships, maybe more, all moving in coordinated formation toward American territory. Professional, disciplined, and completely confident. They had no idea we were here. XO, take us to battle stations. Silent. The crew materialized at their stations. Within 2 minutes, Tampa was ready to fight. Morrison called from weapons. Recommend we target the rear transport, farthest from the escorts, best chance of sinking her before they can react. Negative. We target the lead transport. Morrison looked surprised. Sir, the lead ship has the heaviest escort coverage. Exactly. We sink the lead ship, the whole formation has to stop. Our maneuver around the wreck gives us more time to line up additional shots. Understanding dawned on Morrison's face. And it shows them we're not afraid to take the hardest target. Make them respect us. Make them scared of what else might be out there in the dark. Aye, sir. Targeting lead transport. Range to formation. 32 miles in closing. We crept forward. 5 knots. Barely moving. Our reactor running in quiet mode that reduced output but also reduced noise. In submarine warfare, quiet equals invisible. Invisible equals alive. 28 miles. Closer. Getting into the zone where our torpedoes had good probability of kill. Captain, detecting active sonar from escorts. They're pinging. Active sonar. The escorts were using active sonar to search for submarines, broadcasting sound waves into the water, listening for echoes that would reveal our position. Can they detect us? Not yet. We're below a thermal layer and we're running too quiet, but if we get much closer... Understood. Weapons. How's our firing solution? Good solution on lead transport. Bearing 335. Range 26 miles. Designating target as Master 1. Master 1. Lead transport. Probably carrying 1,000 Chinese Marines and all their equipment. 24 miles. Close enough. Firing plate procedures tubes 1 and 2. Ship ready. Weapons ready. Solutions ready. Tubes 1 and 2 shoot. Tubes 1 and 2 fired electrically. 2 torpedoes in the water.
2 Mark 48s racing toward Master 1 at 45 knots. Their guidance systems locked on target. Time to impact, 9 minutes. 9 minutes until the Chinese discovered they weren't alone in these waters. Reload tubes 1 and 2. Target the second transport. Designate as Master 2. Aye, Captain. Master 2 targeted. We had maybe 9 minutes before all hell broke loose. Might as well use them. Solution ready on Master 2. Tubes 1 and 2, shoot. Tubes 1 and 2 fired electrically. 4 fish in the water now. 4 torpedoes hunting Chinese transports. Captain, the escorts are increasing active sonar. They might have heard our launch transients. Launch transients. The sound of torpedoes leaving their tubes. Quiet, but not silent. Sensitive sonar could detect it. How long until they localize us? Unknown, sir. Could be minutes, could be never. Depends on their sonar operators. Reload tubes 1 and 2. Stand by to engage additional targets. 6 minutes to impact on Master 1. 6 minutes. I counted them down in my head, watching the sonar display, watching our torpedoes close the distance. Active sonar from escorts increasing. They're definitely searching for something. They knew we were here. Didn't know where, but they knew. 4 minutes. Captain, multiple contacts breaking formation. Escorts are moving to screening positions. The Chinese were reacting, but they didn't know what they were reacting to. Our torpedoes were still running silent, still closing on their targets. 2 minutes. Target Master 1 is increasing speed. She knows something's wrong. Too late. Way too late. 1 minute. This was it. Moment of truth. Either our fish found their target, or we'd wasted 4 torpedoes and given away our position for nothing. Impact on Master 1. The explosion registered on sonar. Loud, violent, satisfying. Assess damage. Rodriguez studied his display. Direct hit amidships. Secondary explosions. She's taking on water, slowing down. Impact on Master 2. Second explosion. Second transport hit. Master 2 is hit below the waterline. Major flooding. Both targets are in serious trouble, Captain. 2 transports down. 18 ships, now 16. Better odds, but still not good. Multiple splashes. Escorts are dropping depth charges. Depth charges. Drums of high explosive set to detonate at specific depths. Crude weapons. but effective if you didn't know exactly where the submarine was. Range to nearest depth charge. Hard to tell with all the noise. Estimating half a mile. Half a mile, close enough to be concerning, but not immediately threatening. Come left to course 270. Ahead 1/3, make depth 400 feet. We turned away from the formation, going deeper, trying to put distance between us and those depth charges. The first charge exploded, maybe 3/4 of a mile away. I felt it through the hull. A deep thunk that made the boat shudder. Damage? No damage. Too far away. More explosions. The Chinese escorts were saturating the area with depth charges, hoping to get lucky. None of them were close enough to hurt us. Yet. Captain, both masters are dead to the water. Master 1 is listing heavily. Master 2 appears to be sinking. 2 transports down. 18 ships. Now 16. Better odds, but still not good. Tubes 1 and 2, ready.
Targeting Master 3. Fire when ready. Tubes 1 and 2, shoot. More torpedoes in the water. More chances to hurt them. But the Chinese weren't going to let us keep shooting unopposed. Torpedo launch. Multiple launches from escorts. Counting. Sir, I count 8 torpedoes in the water. 8 Chinese torpedoes, all looking for us. Time to impact. Estimating 12 minutes. They're running search patterns. 12 minutes. Our fish would hit Master 3 in about 8 minutes. That gave us 4 minutes to evade Chinese torpedoes. Continue evasive maneuvers. Deploy decoys on my mark. The next few minutes were tense. We maneuvered through deep water, changing course and depth randomly, trying to shake the Chinese torpedoes. Behind us, more depth charges exploded. The Chinese escorts still saturating the area. Impact on Master 3. Another explosion. Another transport hit. Master 3 is hit. Heavy damage. She's slowing. 3 transports damaged or sinking. 3,000 Marines who wouldn't make it to shore. But those 8 Chinese torpedoes were still out there, still searching. Enemy torpedoes are going active. They're pinging. The Chinese fish had switched to active sonar, broadcasting their own sound waves to find us. More aggressive, but also easier to detect. Deploy countermeasures. Pattern Delta. Small devices ejected from our hull. Some made noise, some created bubbles, all designed to confuse incoming torpedoes. Countermeasures deployed and active. Chinese torpedoes acquiring. Sir, 4 weapons have locked onto our countermeasures. 4 are still searching. 4 down, 4 to go. Come right to 090, ahead 2/3. We increased speed, turned hard right, trying to break the remaining torpedoes' search pattern. More depth charges exploded. Closer now. The escorts were getting better at estimating our position. 2 more torpedoes have acquired countermeasures. 2 still active. 2 left. Just 2. But 2 was enough to kill us. Deploy additional countermeasures. Pattern Echo. More devices in the water. More chances to confuse the Chinese fish. 1 torpedo has acquired countermeasure. 1 remaining active. 1 torpedo. Still hunting. Still closing. Range to active torpedo. 2,000 yards and closing. It's got a solid track on us, Captain. 2,000 yards. About a mile. Too close. Emergency deep. Make depth 600 feet, all ahead flank. We dove hard, pushing our depth limit, running our reactor at maximum output despite the noise it made. Sometimes you have to choose between quiet and survival. The Chinese torpedo followed us down. Sophisticated weapon, able to track through depth changes and evasive maneuvers. Range 1,000 yards. Half a mile. Getting personal now. Exxon, prepare to launch a mobile decoy. On my mark. Decoy ready, Captain. The mobile decoy was a last-ditch defense, self-propelled noisemaker that simulated a submarine's acoustic signature. If it worked, the Chinese torpedo would chase the decoy instead of us. If it didn't work, we had about 90 seconds to live. Range 500 yards. Quarter mile. Time to decide. Launch mobile decoy. The decoy shot away from our hull, immediately broadcasting noise that made it sound like a submarine running at high speed. China's torpedo is turning. It's acquired the decoy. Yes, desperate measures working again. Torpedo impact on decoy. Close enough that we felt it through the hull. Close enough that for a moment I thought it had hit us instead of the decoy. Damage report. Minor damage to port ballast tank. We're holding depth. All systems operational. We'd survived. Again. But we used up more countermeasures, more decoys, more luck. All stop. Rig for ultra quiet. Tampa coasting to a halt. Every non-essential system shutting down. Every crew member freezing in place. Ultra quiet mode where we became as close to invisible as a 300-foot steel submarine could get. Captain, what's the status on Masters 1, 2, and 3? Rodriguez checked his sonar. Master 1 is capsized. She's gone. Master 2 is still afloat but dead in the water. Heavy list. Master 3 is slowed to maybe 5 knots. She's hurt bad. 3 transports out of action. 3 down, maybe 9 or 10 to go. What's the rest of the formation doing? They've scattered. Escorts are still searching for us, dropping depth charges randomly. The transports are turning away, heading back east. Turning away. Retreating. The invasion fleet was withdrawing. We'd stopped them. For now. But I knew this wasn't over. They'd be back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but they'd be back. And next time they'd bring more escorts, more depth charges, more ways to kill American submarines. XO, how many fish do we have left? 19, Captain. 19 torpedoes. Against an enemy that now knew we were here, knew we were effective, and would be planning ways to neutralize us. Rodriguez called. Detecting new contacts, multiple submarines, bearing 090, range 40 miles. They're coming from the east. More submarines. Chinese reinforcements, probably drawn by the sounds of battle. How many? At least 4, maybe 5, all heading this way. 4 or 5 submarines against our 1 boat with only 19 torpedoes and depleted countermeasures. The odds had just gotten worse. XO, plot us a course to the southwest. Best quiet speed. We need to break contact. Captain, as Tampa turned away from the battle area, I took one last look at the sonar display. The Chinese formation was withdrawing. 3 transports damaged or sunk. The invasion delayed. We'd won this round, but the fight was far from over. And now we had 4 or 5 Chinese submarines hunting us in water that was rapidly running out of places to hide. This was gonna get worse before it got better. A lot worse.
28 hours submerged. The boat was starting to smell like a locker room filled with scared men. We'd been running southwest for 6 hours, trying to shake the Chinese submarines that were hunting us. 4 boats at least, maybe 5. Professional hunters who knew these waters as well as we did now. I was in my stateroom, staring at a chart that showed too much red and not enough blue. Red for enemy positions, blue for friendlies. We were the only blue symbol for 200 miles. A knock on my door. Captain, we've got a problem. Of course we did. Problems were the only things we had left. Talk to me. Air quality's degrading faster than expected. With the boat buttoned up this long, the scrubbers are working overtime. We've got maybe 36 hours before CO2 levels become dangerous. 36 hours. Day and a half before we'd have to surface and run the diesels. Ventilate the boat, make ourselves vulnerable to every aircraft and surface ship in the Gulf. Can we extend that? Engineering's already running calculations. Maybe we can squeeze out another 12 hours if we reduce crew activity, have everyone lie in the racks except essential personnel. 48 hours total. 2 days. After that, we either surfaced or we suffocated. Do it. Pass the word to all departments. Minimize activity. Conserve oxygen. Aye, sir. She turned to leave, then stopped. Captain, there's something else. The crew's asking questions. What kind of questions? About what happens next, about whether help is coming, about whether anyone even knows we're out here. I understood. We'd been radio silent for over a day. No communications in, no communications out. For all the crew knew, we were the last American submarine still fighting. Hell, maybe we were. Tell them the truth. We're on our own until we're not. Our job is to keep fighting, keep hurting the Chinese, keep them away from American soil.
Some of them are scared, Captain. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. It's when they stop being scared that I'll worry. After she left, I lay back on my rack and closed my eyes. Tried to sleep. Couldn't. My brain kept replaying the engagement, counting torpedoes, calculating odds. 3 transports damaged or sunk. Call it 3,000 enemy Marines who'd never reached shore. That was good. That was something. But there were still at least 9 transports out there. 9,000 more Marines. Plus those 4 or 5 Chinese submarines now hunting us. Plus, God knows how many surface ships and aircraft. We had 19 torpedoes left. Even if every shot hit, even if we had perfect firing solutions, we couldn't kill them all. The math was brutal. I must have dozed off, because the next thing I knew, someone was shaking my shoulder. Morrison, Captain, sonar's got something. You need to hear this. I followed him to the control room. 2240 hours. Almost midnight. We'd been submerged for 31 hours. Rodriguez was at his station, looking confused. Captain, I'm picking up explosions. Multiple explosions bearing 045, range approximately 60 miles. Explosions? What kind? Torpedo detonations, sir. At least a dozen. And I'm hearing breaking up noises. Ships sinking. Ships sinking? But we hadn't fired any torpedoes. Are there other American submarines out there? Unknown, sir. We've been radio silent. No way to know. I studied the sonar display. Rodriguez was right. Multiple explosions, multiple ships going down. Someone was attacking the Chinese formation. But who? Captain, Chen said, recommend we close the distance. Find out what's happening. She was right. We needed intelligence. Needed to know if we had allies out there or if this was something else entirely. Come right to 045, ahead slow, maintain depth. We turned toward the sounds of battle, moving carefully, listening to the ocean, trying to figure out what the hell was happening. Range 50 miles. Closer now. The explosions were coming more frequently. Whatever was happening, it was a major engagement. Picking up service contacts, multiple ships, high speed, heading toward the battle area. Classification, working on it. Sir, they sound like American destroyers, Arleigh Burke class, maybe 3 or 4 ships. American destroyers, help had arrived. Can you raise them on underwater telephone?
The underwater telephone was a low-frequency communication system submarines used to talk to surface ships without breaking radio silence.
Trying, Captain.
No response. They might not be monitoring the frequency. Of course not. In the chaos of battle, underwater telephone would be low priority. Keep trying. In the meantime, let's get close enough to see what's happening. We crept forward. 40 miles. 35. 30. The picture became clearer. American surface ships were engaging the Chinese formation. Destroyers firing harpoon missiles, the Chinese firing back. And in the middle of it all, more torpedo explosions. Submarine attacks from positions we couldn't identify. Captain, I'm picking up Chinese submarine signatures. At least 3 boats, all maneuvering aggressively. 3 Chinese subs. Probably the same ones that had been hunting us. Now they were fighting American surface ships. Can we get a shock? Morrison studied his fire control display. Negative. Too much clutter. Too many friendlies in the area. Risk of hitting our own ships. We had Chinese submarines in torpedo range, but we couldn't shoot without risking American lives. Maintain position. Keep tracking those Chinese boats. The battle raged for another 40 minutes. We listened to it on sonar. Unable to participate, unable to help. Explosions, breaking up noises, the sounds of men dying in the dark water. Finally, things went quiet. Status? I asked. Rodriguez studied his display. Multiple ships have stopped making way. At least 4 Chinese vessels appear to be sinking or dead in the water. The American destroyers are... Sir, one of them's been hit. She's slowing down. One of ours hit. Probably taken underwater, fighting for survival. And we couldn't help. What about the Chinese submarines? 2 have broken contact, heading east at high speed. The third is heading our way. Heading our way. Either coincidence or they detected us somehow. Range and bearing. Bearing 270, range 12 miles, speed 15 knots. 12 miles.
Close. Too close. Do we have firing solution? Working on it. Yes, sir. Good solution. Firing point procedures? 2-1. We went through the drill. Ship ready. Weapon ready. Solution ready. 2-1. Shoot! The torpedo left the tube with a slight shudder. Out there in the dark, our fish was racing toward the Chinese submarine. Time to impact. 4 minutes. 4 minutes of waiting. 4 minutes of hoping the Chinese submarine didn't detect our torpedo, didn't take evasive action, didn't shoot back. 3 minutes. Captain, target is changing depth. Going shallow. Going shallow. Smart move. Harder for our torpedo to track in the thermocline layers near the surface. 2 minutes. Our weapon is compensating, still tracking. Good torpedo. Smart weapon. Doing exactly what it was designed to do. Target is launching countermeasures. The Chinese knew we were shooting at them. Now they were trying to survive. 30 seconds. Come on, just a little longer. Impact. Explosion on sonar. Loud, violent, terminal. Assess target. Multiple secondary explosions, breaking up noises. She's going down, Captain. Another Chinese submarine dead. Another 60 men gone. The killing was getting easier. That should have bothered me more than it did. What's the status of the American destroyers? They're reforming. Looks like they're heading north back toward... Wait. Sir, I'm picking up communications on underwater telephone. They're trying to reach us. Put it on speaker. Crackling static. And then a voice.
Unidentified submarine. This is USS Fitzgerald. If you're American, respond on this frequency. I grabbed the underwater telephone handset. Fitzgerald, this is USS Tampa. Glad to see you guys. Relief flooded the voice on the other end. Tampa, good to hear you're still alive. We'd heard you were operating in this area. What's your status? We're operational. 19 fish remaining. We've been engaged with Chinese forces for the past 30 hours. Understood. Tampa, be advised we're part of a surface action group sent to stop the invasion force. We've engaged and damaged multiple Chinese vessels, but we've taken casualties. USS Porter is gone. Fitzgerald took a missile hit, but we're still fighting. Porter was gone. Good ship, good crew, all dead, because someone in Beijing decided to start a war. Fitzgerald, what's the status of the invasion fleet? Scattered. We sank 2 more transports, damaged 3 others. But Tampa, they're reforming to the east. Intelligence thinks they're bringing in reinforcements. We're pulling back to rearm and make repairs. Reforming. Bringing in reinforcements. The invasion wasn't over, just delayed. Fitzgerald, do you have orders for us? Static for a moment, and then... Tampa, continue operations in your patrol area. Engage targets of opportunity. We'll be back in 48 hours with more ships. Until then, you're the only thing standing between the Chinese and the Florida coast. Can you hold? Could we hold? With 19 torpedoes, degraded air quality, and 4 Chinese submarines that now knew we were here? Affirmative, Fitzgerald. We'll hold. Good hunting, Tampa. Fitzgerald, out. The connection went dead. We were alone again. Chen looked at me. Captain, can we really hold for 48 hours? We don't have a choice. But she was right to be concerned. 48 hours was a long time when you were running out of air, running low on torpedoes, and facing an enemy that kept sending more ships. XO, I want damage assessment on all the Chinese vessels in the area. Figure out which ones are still combat effective, which ones are wounded. We prioritize the wounded ones, easier kills. As Chen moved to the plotting table, I looked around the control room. My crew was exhausted, faces drawn, eyes red from fatigue and recycled air. But they were still at their stations, still doing their jobs. Good people. The best. Captain Rodriguez called, detecting new contacts. Multiple submarines bearing 090, range 70 miles. How many? At least 6, sir. Maybe more. All heading toward the battle area. 6 more Chinese submarines, plus the ones already here, plus the surface ships reforming to the east. The Chinese weren't giving up. They were doubling down, bringing in everything they had to force this invasion through. And we were supposed to stop them with 19 torpedoes and 48 hours of breathable air. The math kept getting worse. XO, plot intercept course for those new contacts. If we're going to make these next 48 hours count, we need to start killing submarines. Aye, Captain. Tapa turned toward the approaching Chinese boats. 1 American submarine against 6 Chinese. The odds were terrible, but we'd faced terrible odds before, and we're still here. Still fighting. Still American. 0340 hours, October 21st. Day 2 of the war that wouldn't end. We'd been hunting the Chinese submarine pack for 7 hours.
6 boats, all moving in loose formation toward the battle area. Professional, disciplined, dangerous. We'd managed to position ourselves ahead of their formation, lying quiet in deep water, waiting for them to come to us. Range to lead submarine, I asked quietly. 18 miles, Captain. Formation is maintaining 12 knots, heading 280. 18 miles. Still outside ideal torpedo range, but close enough if we had to shoot. Can you classify them? Rodriguez studied his sonar display. Lead boat is definitely type 093 Shang class. Second and third appear to be type 039A Yuan class. The others... Captain, I think the others are type 095s. Type 095. China's newest attack submarine. Quieter than anything they'd built before, with weapon systems that rivaled our own boats. How quiet? Very quiet, sir. If they weren't running information, I might not have detected them at all. Great. We were facing China's best submarines, with a boat that had been built in 2006 and was running on fumes. Weapons, give me best target priority. Morrison didn't hesitate. Lead boat, sir. Take out the Shang, the rest of the pack will lose coordination. Made sense. Kill the leader, create chaos. What about the Type 095s? They're the bigger threat long term, but they're also in the rear of the formation. We'd have to shoot through the other boats to hit them. So we take the Shang first, then work our way back through the pack. That's my recommendation, sir. I thought about it. 6 boats. We had 19 torpedoes. If we committed to attacking this pack, we'd burn through at least 6 fish. Maybe more if we missed or they deployed effective countermeasures. But if we let them through, they'd join up with the invasion force. Make it that much harder to stop the transports. XO, your assessment. Chen was studying the tactical plot. Captain, if we engage, we're committed. No way to break contact without them hunting us. We'll be in a running battle with 6 Chinese boats. Can we win? She was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I don't know. We've got skill and experience on our side, but they've got numbers. Eventually, numbers win. Eventually. That was the key word. How long was eventually? Range 16 miles. Closer. Decision time approaching fast. I looked around the control room, my crew waiting for orders. Tired, scared, but ready. All was ready. We engage. Weapons free on lead boat. Once we shoot, we go full offensive. Hit them hard, hit them fast, try to sink as many as possible before they can coordinate a response. Aye, Captain. Firing point procedures, tubes 1 and 2. Target the lead Shang class. We went through the drill, but now we'd done it so many times it was muscle memory. Solutions ready. Tubes 1 and 2, shoot. 2 fish in the water. 2 torpedoes racing toward the lead Chinese submarine. Time to impact, 7 minutes. Reload tubes 1 and 2. Target second submarine. Aye, sir. 7 minutes. The longest 7 minutes of the day. Range true formation, 14 miles. They still didn't know we were here. Still cruising along, confident in their numbers, completely unaware the 2 American torpedoes are closing on their leader. 5 minutes. Solutions ready on second target. Tubes 1 and 2, shoot. 4 torpedoes in the water now. 4 fish hunting 2 Chinese submarines. 3 minutes to first impact. Reload tubes 1 and 2. We're committed now. Once those first torpedoes hit, the entire Chinese pack would know we were here. Then it would get ugly. 2 minutes. Captain, lead submarine is changing course, turning to port. Random course change? Or had they detected something? 1 minute. All tubes reloaded and ready, Captain. Stand by to engage third target on my command. 30 seconds. This was it. The moment when everything changed. Impact! First explosion. Loud, violent, satisfying. Lead submarine is hit. Heavy damage. She's slowing. Second impact imminent. Impact! Second explosion. Even louder than the first. Second submarine is hit. She's going down. 2 Chinese boats hit out of 6. But now the other 4 knew we were here. Multiple splashes. Chinese submarines are launching.
Count. Jesus. Captain, I count at least 10 torpedoes in the water. 10 Chinese torpedoes. All looking for us. Emergency deep. All ahead flank. Deploy countermeasures. Tampa dove hard, pushing towards 600 feet. Our reactor screamed as it pushed maximum power. Behind us, countermeasures ejected into the water. Time to impact on enemy weapons? Estimating 8 minutes, sir. 8 minutes to evade 10 torpedoes. Not good odds. Fire tubes 1 and 2 at third target. Shoot on bearing. We didn't have time for perfect firing solutions. Shoot and hope, then run like hell. Tubes 1 and 2 fired. Come right to 090. Maintain depth. We turned hard right. Engines at maximum, making enough noise that every sonar operator in the Gulf could probably hear us. But speed was more important than stealth now. Chinese torpedoes going active. They're pinging. The enemy fish had switched to active sonar, hunting mode. They had solid tracks on us. Range to nearest torpedo, 4,000 yards and closing fast. 2 miles, maybe 3 minutes until impact. Deploy mobile decoy. The decoy is shot away from our hull, broadcasting our acoustic signature. 3 torpedoes acquiring decoy. 7 still tracking us. 7 torpedoes. Still too many. Captain, impact on third target. Our 6th torpedo had found its mark. 3 Chinese submarines down. 3 to go. But we might not survive long enough to shoot at them. Range to nearest torpedo, 2,000 yards, 1 mile. Maybe 90 seconds. XO, prepare to emergency blow. If these fish get any closer, we're going to the surface. Sir, if we surface, the Chinese will... If we don't surface, we're dead. Prepare to blow. My captain. Range, 1,000 yards. Half a mile. 1 minute. 2 more torpedoes acquiring countermeasures. 5 still active. 5 torpedoes. 1 minute. 1 submarine. The math was getting very bad, very fast. That's when Rodriguez called out something I didn't expect. Captain, underwater explosion bearing 270. Not one of ours, not one of theirs. Another submarine just fired, sir. Not Chinese, not us. Someone else is engaging the Chinese pack. Someone else? Another American submarine? Had to be. Multiple explosions. The Chinese formation is under attack from 2 directions. 2 directions. Us from the south, someone else from the west. The Chinese pack was caught in a crossfire. Range to enemy torpedoes? 500 yards. Wait, they're turning. All 5 weapons have acquired new targets. We're clear. Clear. The Chinese torpedoes had found something else to shoot at. Something that looked more like a submarine than our countermeasures. Emergency blow. Surface the boat. As soon as we're up, open the hatches, ventilate the boat. We rocketed toward the surface. Compressed air screaming into ballast tanks, deck tilting up at steep angle. We broke surface in an explosion of foam and spray. Immediately, the forward hatch opened. Fresh air poured in, beautiful, clean air that didn't taste like recycled fear. Captain, we're exposed if there are Chinese aircraft. We've been submerged for 38 hours. We need air. We'll take our chances. I grabbed the underwater telephone handset. An unidentified American submarine. This is USS Tampa. Identify yourself. Static for a moment. Then Tampa, USS Columbia. Good to see you're still alive. Columbia, Los Angeles class boat. Older than Tampa, but combat proven. I'd served with their captain, Commander Sarah Mitchell, back when we were junior officers. Columbia, what's your status? We're operational. We've been tracking the Chinese pack for 6 hours. Figured you could use some help. Roger that. Current status? We just sank 2 Chinese boats. The remaining pack is scattering. Count 3 Chinese submarines fleeing to the east at high speed.
3 submarines fleeing. We'd broken the pack. 6 Chinese boats entered this area. Now only 3 are leaving. Columbia, can you pursue? Negative. We're low on fish and our air quality is degraded. Recommend we both surface, ventilate, and reform for continued operations. Made sense? We'd hurt them badly, but both our boats needed recovery time. Agreed. Tampa, we remain on station. Appreciate the assist, Columbia. That's what we're here for. Columbia out. I climbed up to the bridge. First time I've been topside in almost 2 days. The night air hit me like a physical thing. Cool, clean, sweet. Above, stars scattered across black sky. Around us, dark water, stretching to every horizon. It looked peaceful.
You'd never know that somewhere beneath this water, Chinese submarines were regrouping. Chinese transport ships were reforming. Chinese invasion forces were preparing for another attempt on American soil. Chen climbed up beside me. Captain, air quality in the boat is improving rapidly. Engineering estimates will be back to normal in about 2 hours. Good. As soon as we're ventilated, we dive again. I want to be underwater before dawn. Aye, sir. She was quiet for a moment. Then, Captain, do you think we can actually stop them? The invasion, I mean? There's just 2 submarines. Eventually they'll get through. Maybe. Probably. I looked at her. But every hour we delay them is another hour for reinforcements to arrive. Every transport we sink is 1,000 Marines who won't make it to shore. We can't stop them completely, but we can make them pay for every mile. She nodded. My sister called me before we left port. She wanted to know if I'd be home for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving? That was what, 3 weeks away? A lifetime in wartime. What'd you tell her? I told her probably not. I didn't tell her there might not be a Thanksgiving if we lose. We're not going to lose. How can you be sure? I couldn't be sure. Nobody could. But I knew one thing. As long as Tampa was afloat, as long as we had torpedoes to shoot and air to breathe, we'd keep fighting. Below us, the boat was coming back to life. Fresh air filling compartments, crew members breathing easier, systems recharging. In 2 hours, we'd dive again, go back into the darkness, resume the hunt. The Chinese had numbers. They had more ships, more submarines, more weapons. But we had something they didn't. We had home field advantage. This was our water, our coast, our country, and we'd defend it to our last torpedo, our last breath, our last man. The Chinese were going to learn what it meant to fight Americans on American soil. It wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be quick. But they were going to learn. 56 hours submerged. That's where we were now. The air tasted better after the surface ventilation, but it was already starting to go bad again. Stale, heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. We'd been back underwater for 18 hours, hunting the reforming Chinese invasion fleet. Columbia was somewhere to our west, doing the same thing. 2 American submarines against what intelligence said was now 20-plus Chinese ships. They'd brought in reinforcements, more transports, more escorts, more submarines. They weren't giving up. Neither were we. I was in the control room, studying the tactical display. The Chinese had learned from their first attempt. This time, they weren't coming in one big formation. They'd split into 3 groups, approaching the Florida coast from different angles. Harder to defend against. Smarter. Captain, Rodriguez called from sonar. I've got something weird. Multiple contacts, bearing 015, range 40 miles. They're not moving. Not moving? Are they anchored? Unknown, sir, but they're definitely stationary. And, Captain, I count at least 8 contacts just sitting there. 8 ships sitting still in the middle of the Gulf. That didn't make sense. Unless... Are they in formation? Rodriguez studied his display. Affirmative, sir. They're arranged in a circle, approximately 2 miles diameter. A defensive circle. 8 ships protecting something in the center.
XO, what would require 8 ships to sit in a defensive formation? Chen thought about it. High-value target. Something important enough to dedicate significant assets to protecting. Like what? Command ship, hospital ship, or... She didn't finish, but I knew what she was thinking. Amphibious assault ship. The kind that carried helicopters, landing craft, and hundreds of Marines. The kind that coordinated entire invasion operations. Sonar, can you identify the center contact? Working on it, Captain. It's large, really large. Displacement is... Sir, if my calculations are right, this thing is pushing 40,000 tons. 40,000 tons? That was bigger than any destroyer or cruiser. That was carrier size. Get me better resolution. I need to know what we're looking at. Aye, sir. We crept closer. 35 miles. 30. 25. Captain, I've got classification. Center contact is Type 075 landing helicopter dock. That's an amphibious assault ship. The escorts are 4 destroyers and 4 frigates. Landing helicopter dock. A floating command center for amphibious operations. Probably had a Chinese admiral aboard coordinating the entire invasion. Kill that ship, and we decapitate their command structure. How many torpedoes to kill something that big? Morrison checked his calculations. At least 4, sir. Maybe 6 to be sure. She's got heavy compartmentalization, damage control teams. She won't go down easy. 6 torpedoes. We had 13 left. Using half our remaining weapons on one target was a huge gamble. But if that target was coordinating the invasion... XO, your assessment. Captain, this could be a trap. 8 escorts sitting in a circle waiting for submarines to attack? They have to know we'd find this tempting. She was right. It felt too convenient, too perfect. But if it's not a trap, I said, if that really is their command ship and we let it go, then we miss a chance to disrupt their entire operation. Exactly. Damned if we do, damned if we don't.
Range 22 miles. Getting close to decision point. Much closer, and those escorts would detect us. I thought about it, weighed the odds, considered the alternatives. We engage, but we do it smart.
Weapons, I want firing solutions on the command ship and on 2 of the escorts. We'll shoot at all 3 simultaneously.
Sir,
Morrison looked confused. If this is a trap, they're expecting us to shoot at the command ship and then try to evade. Instead, we shoot at the command ship and 2 escorts. Create confusion. While they're trying to figure out what's happening, we reload and shoot again. Understanding dawned on Morrison's face. Divide their response. Make them defend multiple targets. Exactly. It's still a gamble, but it's a better gamble. Aye, sir. Targeting command ship and... He studied the display. North and south escorts. Those positions give us the best reload geometry. How long to calculate firing solutions? 8 minutes, Captain. Make it 6. The longer we sit here, the better chance they detect us. Aye, sir. 6 minutes. I spent them watching the sonar display, watching those 8 Chinese ships sitting in their perfect defensive circle, wondering if we were about to sail into a carefully prepared ambush. Solutions ready, Captain. Range 19 miles to command ship, 18 to escorts. Close enough. Firing point procedures. Tubes 1 through 6. Stagger launch, 5-second intervals. Ship ready, weapons ready, solutions ready. Tube 1, shoot. Slight shudder as the first torpedo left. 5 seconds. Tube 2, shoot. Another shudder. We rippled off all 6 torpedoes in 30 seconds. 6 Mark 48s racing toward 3 Chinese ships. Half our remaining weapons, committed to one attack. Time to impact, 8 minutes. 8
8 minutes until we found out if this was brilliant or suicidal. Reload all tubes. Stand by to engage additional targets. Aye, Captain. Come left to 270. Ahead, slow. Make depth 400 feet. We turned away from the formation, going deeper, preparing to evade whatever response the Chinese threw at us. 6 minutes to impact. Around me, the control room was quiet. Everyone knew what was riding on this attack. If we succeeded, we'd cripple the Chinese command structure. If we failed, we'd waste half our remaining torpedoes and probably get killed in the counterattack. 5 minutes. Captain, detecting increased activity from the escort vessels. They're maneuvering. They knew we were here. Didn't know where, but they knew. 4 minutes. Multiple splashes. Escorts are dropping depth charges. The depth charges started exploding. Too far away to hurt us yet, but they were saturating the area, trying to force us to move, to make noise, to reveal our position. 3 minutes. Captain, the command ship is increasing speed. She's trying to run. Too late. Way too late. Our torpedoes were locked on, closing fast. 2 minutes. More depth charges. Closer now. The boat shuddered with each explosion. 1 minute. Captain, the escorts are launching torpedoes. Multiple launches. I count 16 torpedoes in the water. 16? Jesus! They had fired everything they had. Time to impact on enemy torpedoes. Estimating 10 minutes, Captain. 10 minutes. Our fish would hit in 1 minute. That gave us 9 minutes to evade 16 Chinese torpedoes. Impact on North Escort. First explosion. Loud. Satisfying. Impact on South Escort. Second explosion. Equally loud. Impact on command ship. Multiple impacts. 3 explosions. Almost simultaneous. All 6 torpedoes had found their targets. Assess damage.
North Escort is dead in the water, heavy list. South Escort is... She's breaking apart, sir. She's going down. Command ship has taken multiple hits. She's on fire and listing heavily. 3 ships hit, 2 escorts crippled or sinking. Command ship badly damaged. But we had 16 torpedoes coming our way. Emergency deep. All ahead flank. Deploy countermeasures pattern echo. We dove hard, pushing 700 feet. Our maximum safe depth was 800. Below that, the hull started making noises that attracted unwanted attention. Chinese torpedoes going active. They're all pinging. 16 torpedoes, all hunting. All locked on active sonar searching for the submarine that had just killed their command ship. Come right to 090, maintain depth. We turned hard, engines screaming. Behind us, countermeasures checked it into the water. Range to nearest torpedo. 2,000 yards in closing. 1.5 miles. Maybe 4 minutes. Captain, picking up underwater explosions bearing 270. Columbia is engaging. Columbia. Mitchell had followed us in. Probably figured we could use help with those 16 torpedoes. How many torpedoes has Columbia diverted? At least 4, sir, maybe more. They're targeting her countermeasures. 4 down. 12 to go. Range to nearest torpedo, 1,000 yards. Half mile, 30 minutes. That's when something impossible happened. The ocean above us exploded. Not depth charges, not torpedoes, something bigger, much bigger. The boat shook like someone had grabbed it and rattled it. Lights flickered, pipes groaned, men shouted. "What the hell was that?" I yelled. "Surfaced explosions." Rodriguez's voice was high with shock. "Massive surface explosions, multiple ships breaking up." "Which ships?" "The Chinese escorts, all of them, sir. Something just killed the entire escort formation." The entire formation. All 6 remaining escort ships gone in seconds. What could do that? "Unknown, sir. I'm picking up, aircraft. Multiple aircraft overhead. They're firing missiles." Aircraft. American aircraft. Someone had sent air support. Chinese torpedoes are losing track. They're going into search mode. Search mode meant they'd lost their targets. Lost us. We'd survived. Again.
but I needed to know what had just saved our lives. Take us to periscope depth, carefully. We rose slowly through churned water. At 60 feet, I raised the scope. Dawn was breaking, pink lights spreading across the Gulf. And everywhere I looked, ships were burning. The Chinese escort formation was gone, just wreckage and oiled slicks. The command ship was still afloat, barely, listing at 45 degrees, black smoke pouring from her superstructure. And overhead, 4 aircraft were circling FA-18 Super Hornets, probably from some carrier group that had finally arrived in the area. Downscope, take us back to 300 feet, back to safety, back to the darkness where submarines belonged. XO, damage report. Minor damage throughout the boat, some piping, some electrical, nothing critical, were operational. How many torpedoes remaining? 7, Captain.
7. We'd started with 24. Now we had 7. Sonar status on the Chinese invasion fleet. Rodriguez checked his display. The 3 approach groups are... Captain, they're turning away. All 3 groups are heading back to the east. They're withdrawing. Withdrawing. Again. The second time we'd forced them back. But this time felt different. This time we killed their command ship, disrupted their coordination, hurt them badly enough that they decided Florida was too costly. Captain, Chen said quietly, we did it. We stopped them. For now, they'll be back. But for now, we won. She was right. For now, we'd won. Tampa and Columbia and 4 FA-18s had stopped an invasion fleet. War wasn't over, not even close. But we'd bought time. Time for more ships to arrive, more aircraft, more submarines. Time for America to mobilize. Captain, underwater telephone. Columbia's calling. I grabbed the handset. Columbia, Tampa, hell of a fight. Mitchell's voice came through the static. Tampa, good shooting. That was some ballsy attacking you did there. Couldn't have done it without you drawing off those torpedoes. That's what friends are for. Tampa, be advised, surface units are requesting we both come to periscope depth. They want to coordinate next operations. Next operations. Because there were always next operations. Roger that. Tampa coming to periscope depth now. We rose slowly. At 60 feet, I raised the scope again. The scene had changed. American destroyers had arrived, 4 of them, screening the area. The FA-18s were still overhead, and in the distance, more ships were approaching. Lots more ships. Help had arrived. Finally, I grabbed the radio handset. Surface units, this is USS Tampa. Go ahead. Tampa, this is USS Stockdale. Admiral Patterson sends his regards and his thanks. You guys have been doing incredible work down here. Admiral Patterson? That name sounded familiar. Then I remembered. He's the guy coordinating naval operations on the East Coast. The guy trying to take back New York Harbor. Stockdale, what's the situation up north? Complicated. Chinese still hold portions of New York and Boston. Norfolk is contested, but we're pushing back. Your actions here prevented the Chinese from opening a second front. You probably saved thousands of American lives. Saved thousands of lives. That should have felt good. Instead, I just felt tired. Stockdale, what are our orders? You and Columbia are released from patrol. Proceed to Naval Submarine Base Kings Bay, Georgia. You've earned some downtime. Downtime. Rest. Repairs. Fresh air that didn't taste like fear and recycled carbon dioxide. Roger that, Stockdale. Tampa's proceeding to Kings Bay. Understood. And Tampa, well done. Patterson out. I lowered the radio handset. XL, set course for Kings Bay. Best speed consistent with battery charge. Aye, Captain. As we turned north, I took one last look through the periscope at the burning Chinese command ship. Hundreds of Chinese sailors aboard that ship, probably dead or dying because their leaders had decided to invade America. I should have felt something. Victory, maybe? Satisfaction? Something? Instead, I just felt empty. 72 hours submerged. 3 days of fighting. We'd sunk or damaged maybe a dozen Chinese ships, killed hundreds, maybe thousands of enemy sailors. And for what? The Chinese are withdrawing, but they're not defeated. They'll be back. Maybe not here, maybe not Florida, but somewhere. They'll keep coming until either they win or we destroy them. This war was far from over.
Captain, Chen's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Yeah, the crew's asking about liberty when we reach port. About seeing their families. Their families. In all the fighting, I'd almost forgotten that my crew had lives outside this steel tube. Parents, spouses, children, people who'd been watching the news, probably terrified. Tell them we'll do what we can. But, XO, sir, tell them to prepare for a short turnaround. We won't be in port long. She understood. How long? A week, maybe 2. And then we're back out here. The crew's exhausted, Captain. I know. So am I. But there's a war on, and we're one of the few boats that has actual combat experience against Chinese forces. They'll need us back out here as soon as possible. She nodded, started to leave, then turned back. Captain, for what it's worth, you did good. The crew knows it. I know it. You kept us alive and hurt the enemy. That's all anyone can ask. After she left, I sat alone in the control room, watching the sonar display. The Chinese contacts were fading to the east. Our contacts were all blue now, all friendly. For the first time in 3 days, we weren't being hunted. It felt strange. I headed back to my stateroom. Needed to write up the patrol report, document everything we'd done, every torpedo we'd fired, every decision I'd made. The Navy would want to study this, learn from it, figure out how to fight Chinese submarines more effectively, because there would be more fights, more patrols, more desperate battles in dark water. This was just the beginning. The war had started in New York Harbor, then Boston, then Florida. Where would it spread next? California? Washington? The entire Pacific coast? How many more submarines would we lose? How many more sailors? I sat at my small desk and started writing. Documented everything. The initial engagement, the running battle with the submarine pack, the attack on the command ship. Cold, clinical language that didn't capture what it felt like to fight for 72 hours straight. Outside my stateroom, I could hear the boat settling into transit routine. Men laughing, relieved to be heading home. Someone had broken out a guitar and was playing something that might have been Johnny Cash. Normal sounds, human sounds. The sounds of people who'd survived something they weren't sure they'd survive. I kept writing, filled page after page with tactical details and weapons expenditure reports. Numbers and bearings and times. But I couldn't capture the important stuff. The fear in Rodriguez's voice when he'd counted 16 torpedoes. The determination in Chen's eyes when she said we could hold. The quiet professionalism of Morrison as he calculated firing solutions under impossible pressure. Those things didn't fit in official reports. 72 hours. 3 days that changed everything. We'd gone into those waters as peacetime sailors playing at war games. We'd come out as combat veterans who knew what it meant to kill or be killed. The Tampa had proven herself. My crew had proved themselves. But the price? I thought about that first Chinese submarine we killed. The Shang-class boat with 60 men on board. Had they known what was coming? Had they died instantly? Or had they drowned slowly in the dark? I'd never know. Didn't want to know. War is hell. But it's necessary hell. Sometimes the only way to stop evil is to be better at killing than they are. The Chinese had started this. Attacked our cities, invaded our harbors, tried to land an army on our soil. We'd stopped them. Not permanently, but for now. And we'd keep stopping them, keep fighting them, keep killing them, until either they gave up, or there was nothing left of either side but wreckage and regret. I finished the report. Sealed it in an envelope marked confidential. The Navy would file it away somewhere, add it to the historical record, maybe use it to train future submarine commanders. Maybe nobody would ever read it. Maybe it would just sit in some archive, forgotten. One more document from one more war,
that America had to fight. Didn't matter. I'd done my job. Documented what happened. Told the truth as best I could. Now I needed sleep. Sleep. Not the fitful dozing I'd been doing for 3 days. I lay back on my rack and closed my eyes. The boat was quiet now. Just the normal sounds of machinery and moving water. No alarms. No explosions. No sonar contacts racing toward us with murderous intent. Peace. Temporary. Fragile peace. I'd take it. Because in a week, maybe 2, we'd be back out here. Back in the dark water, hunting Chinese submarines. Defending American soil. Back to war. But for now, for just a little while, we'd won. We'd held the line. We'd done what Americans do when someone threatens our home. We fought back. And we'd made damn sure they knew the price of attacking the United States of America. 72 hours. Stranded in a submarine off the coast of Florida. 72 hours that proved submarines still matter. That sailors still matter. That Americans still know how to fight. The Chinese would be back. We'd be ready. Tampa would be ready. Because that's what we do. That's what we've always done. Survive, no matter the cost, no matter the odds, no matter what.
We surfaced 12 miles off Kings Bay just after sunset on October 22nd. 3 days and 6 hours since we'd gone deep. 3 days and 6 hours of breathing recycled air, eating cold food, and trying not to think about the fact that Chinese submarines were hunting us. Now it was over. For now, anyway. I climbed up to the bridge as we made our approach. The Georgia coast was a dark line against the fading light. Above us, helicopters circled. Coast Guard cutters flanked our position. Someone was taking our security seriously. Made sense. Tampa was probably the most combat-experienced submarine in the Atlantic Fleet right now. We'd sunk or damaged more Chinese vessels than any other boat. That made us valuable. That also made us a priority target. Captain! Chen called up from below. Base is requesting we proceed directly to Submarine Pier 3. They've got a welcoming committee. Welcoming committee. Probably admirals wanting debriefs, intelligence officers wanting every detail. Need some press wanting the heroic story. I wasn't feeling very heroic, just tired. Acknowledged. Take us in, XO. The approach to Kings Bay took 40 minutes. Slow transit through the harbor, past other submarines tied up at their piers. Ohio-class boomers carrying ballistic missiles. Virginia-class attack boats like us. Even an old Los Angeles-class submarine that looked like it had seen better days. The fleet was gathering, preparing for whatever came next. As we approached Pier 3, I could see the welcoming committee Chen had mentioned. Maybe 50 people on the pier. Dress uniforms, rank insignia gleaming under the dock lights. Flags. Small band. They were treating us like heroes. We didn't feel like heroes. We felt like survivors. I'll stop. Tie up to pier. Line handlers threw mooring lines to the pier crew. Within minutes, Tampa was secure alongside. Home. Sort of. I climbed down from the bridge as the forward hatch opened. Fresh evening air poured in, and I heard someone below actually sob with relief at the smell of land. Yeah, I felt that. A rear admiral was waiting at the head of the pier. 2 stars, dress whites, and enough ribbons on his chest to open a gift shop. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. He saluted as I stepped onto the pier. I returned it. Captain Harris. Admiral James Keller, Submarine Group 10. Welcome back. Thank you, sir. You and your crew have done exceptional work. The President himself asked me to convey his thanks. The President, right. Like the President had time to think about one submarine when the entire eastern seaboard was under attack. But I nodded, played the game. Thank you, sir. The crew performed admirably. I need you and your XO for immediate debrief. The rest of your crew has 72 hours liberty, then we'll need them back for maintenance and refit. 72 hours. 3 days. The same amount of time we'd spent submerged fighting for our lives. Sir, respectfully, my crew needs more than 3 days. Keller's face hardened. Captain, I understand they're tired, but we're at war. Every submarine we have needs to be operational as soon as possible. My crew has been underwater for 3 days straight fighting Chinese submarines and surface ships. They're exhausted. They need real rest, not 72 hours. Captain, sir, I kept my voice level, professional. If you send Capt back out with an exhausted crew, we'll make mistakes. Mistakes get submarines sunk. Give us a week, 7 days. Then we'll be ready.
Keller studied me for a long moment. Around us, my crew was emerging from the submarine. Pale faces, squinting in the dock lights, moving slowly like old men. They looked like survivors of a shipwreck. Which, in a way, they were. 7 days, Keller finally said. But Captain, after that, I need Tampa back in the fight. We've lost 6 submarines in the past 3 days. 6 boats, 1,800 men. We can't afford to keep losing assets at this rate. 6 submarines. Jesus, that was a quarter of our Atlantic submarine force. Understood, sir. Let's get you debriefed. The sooner we document what you learned out there, the sooner we can share it with other boats. The debrief took 8 hours. Me, Chen, Morrison, and Rodriguez in a secure conference room, answering questions from a rotating cast of intelligence officers, tactical analysts, and senior submarine commanders. They wanted to know everything. Every engagement, every torpedo fired, every evasion tactic that worked or didn't work. We told them, documented it all, shared every lesson we'd learned in 72 hours of combat. By the time they were done with us, it was 0400 on October 23rd. 4 in the morning. I'd been awake for nearly 24 hours. Captain Harris, said a Navy captain I didn't recognize. One more thing. Your patrol report mentioned you detected Type 095 submarines in the Chinese force. Can you elaborate on their acoustic signature? Type 095. China's newest boats, the ones that had in the rear of that submarine pack. We didn't get close enough for detailed signature analysis, but from what we observed, they are significantly quieter than their older boats, maybe as quiet as our Virginia class. Murmurs around the table. If the Chinese had submarines as quiet as ours, the acoustic advantage we'd relied on for decades was gone. Did they employ any unusual tactics? They stayed in the rear of the formation, protected. The older boats took to forward screening positions. That suggests the Chinese consider the Type 095s too valuable to risk in forward combat roles. More murmurs, more note-taking. Captain, based on your experience, how would you assess the overall Chinese submarine threat? I thought about that. Thought about the Shang-class boat we'd killed in our first engagement, the submarine pack we'd broken up, the coordinated tactics they had used. Professional, well-trained, competent. Not as experienced as us, but that's changing fast. Every engagement teaches them something. Give them 6 months of actual combat experience, and they'll be as dangerous as any submarine force in the world. Silence around the table. Nobody wanted to hear that. Thank you, Captain. You're dismissed. Get some rest. I stumbled out of the conference room. Chen was waiting in the corridor looking as exhausted as I felt. Quarters are in building 472. They've got rooms for the department heads, crews in the barracks. What about families? Families are being allowed on base tomorrow at 1,000 hours. Controlled access, security screening. Tomorrow. 8 hours from now. My parents were probably already on the road from Tampa, assuming they'd even gotten the message that we were back, assuming they were still alive. I hadn't thought about that. What if the Chinese had hit Tampa while we were out fighting? What if my parents' condo was Frobel?
My sister's school was burning. XO, have we gotten any news from Tampa? The city, I mean. Chin shook her head. Communications have been spotty, but I haven't heard anything about attacks on Tampa. I think your family is okay. I think. Not, I know, just I think. That would have to be enough. Get some sleep, XO. That's an order. Aye, Captain. You too.
I found Building 472, a temporary officer's quarters, basically a barracks with smaller rooms. The room they'd assigned me was maybe 8 feet by 10. Rack, desk, small bathroom. Luxury compared to my stateroom on Tampa. I fell onto the rack without even taking off my uniform. Closed my eyes. Sleep hit me like a hammer. I woke to someone pounding on my door. Sat up, confused, reaching for a battle station alarm that wasn't there. Not on the boat. On shore. Safe. More pounding. Captain Harris, sir, you need to come out here. I opened the door. A young ensign I didn't recognize, face pale with excitement or fear or both. What's wrong? Sir, you need to turn on a TV. Now. TV? When was the last time I'd watched television? Before the war started, definitely. I followed him to a common room where maybe 20 officers were gathered around a large screen. CNN was on, volume loud. The image showed a city burning, massive fires, smoke columns reaching toward the sky, emergency vehicles everywhere. Continuing coverage of the attack on San Diego, Chinese forces launched a coordinated assault at approximately 0300 hours Pacific time. Naval Station San Diego has been hit, multiple ships damaged or sunk. The city is under martial law. San Diego, the Pacific Fleet's home, under attack. Change the channel, someone said. The picture changed. Different city, same story. Los Angeles. Fires burning along the waterfront. Highway 1 clogged with evacuees. Another channel. San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, with a section collapsed into the bay. Rescue operations ongoing. The Chinese hadn't just hit the East Coast, they'd hit the West Coast too. Simultaneously. A coordinated assault on both sides of the country. Jesus Christ, someone whispered. On the screen, a reporter was talking to camera, smoke drifting behind her. Estimates suggest thousands of casualties. The president has declared a state of emergency for California, Washington, and Oregon. National Guard units are mobilizing, but sources tell us the Chinese may attempt amphibious landings along the coast. I felt sick. While we'd been fighting off Florida, the Chinese had been hitting the Pacific. How many ships did they have? How many submarines? How many Marines? Captain, Chen had appeared beside me. Sir, we're being recalled. Admiral Keller's recalling all submarine crews. Emergency orders. We're going back out. He said 7 days. That was before this, sir. They need every boat operational now. I looked around the common room. Officers watching the screen, faces showing shock, fear, anger. The war had just gotten exponentially worse. How long do we have? 6 hours. Tampa is being emergency resupplied right now. Torpedoes, food, spare parts. We sailed at 1400 hours. 6 hours. Not 7 days. Not even 1 day. 6 hours of rest, then back into the fight. What about the crew's families? They're canceling the family visit. Security concern. Security concern. Translation. We couldn't risk Chinese agents or sympathizers seeing which submarines were operational and which weren't. My parents would understand. If they were even still alive to understand. XO, pass the word to all department heads. Emergency recall. I want everyone aboard Tampa by 1300 hours. Aye, Captain. As she left, I stood watching the television. San Diego, burning. Los Angeles, evacuating. San Francisco's bridge collapsed into the bay. How many more cities would burn before this was over? The next 5 hours were chaos. Getting the crew back aboard, loading supplies, running emergency checks on systems that had barely been given time to cool down, briefing on our new patrol area, which turned out to be the same patrol area we'd just left. Back to Romeo 4, back to the waters off Florida, back to hunting Chinese submarines.
They're regrouping, Admiral Keller told me in a rushed briefing. Intelligence thinks the Chinese are planning a third attempt at Florida. Bigger this time. More ships, more escorts, more submarines. Your job is the same as before. Find them, kill them. Don't let them reach the coast. Same job, same impossible odds, same likelihood of dying in dark water. Sir, what about the Pacific? Are we sending boats west to help? Some, but most of our Pacific boats are already engaged or sunk. Captain, I won't lie to you. This is bad, really bad. The Chinese have hit us harder than Pearl Harbor. They've sunk or damaged 30% of our fleet in 3 days. 30% in 3 days. That was catastrophic. How many submarines do we have left? Atlantic, maybe 12 operational boats. Pacific, 8, maybe. We're trying to get exact numbers, but communications are difficult. 20 submarines. Against how many Chinese boats? 50? 100? Captain Harris. Keller put his hand on my shoulder. I know you and your crew are exhausted. I know this isn't fair, but you're one of the few captains with actual combat experience against Chinese forces. We need you out there. Need your knowledge, your skills, your ability to kill their boats. We'll do our job, sir. I know you will. That's why I'm sending you back out. There's something else. We're attaching a rider to your boat. Submarine warfare analyst from the Pentagon. He needs to observe actual combat operations, learn how to fight these bastards. A rider. Extra body, taking up space, using up oxygen, getting in the way. Non-negotiable, Captain. He'll stay out of your way, but he needs to be there. Great. Just what we needed. Some Pentagon analyst who'd never been deeper than a swimming pool learning about submarine warfare while we were fighting for our lives. Hi, sir. He's already aboard. Commander Paul Stevens. Introduce yourself when you get a chance. Commander Stevens turned out to be maybe 40. Wire-rimmed glasses, nervous energy that made him bounce on the balls of his feet. He looked like an accountant, not a warrior. I found him in the wardroom, studying a laptop covered in classification stickers. Commander Stevens, Captain Harris. He jumped up, nearly hitting his head on the overhead. Captain, sir, thank you for having me aboard. I promise to stay out of your way. What's your background, Commander? PhD in applied mathematics from MIT. I've been working on submarine warfare modeling for the past 8 years, but this is my first time on an actual boat. His first time. Perfect. His first time, and we were heading into combat in 6 hours. Commander, some ground rules. You'll bunk in the wardroom. You don't touch anything unless I or the XO explicitly authorize it. During battle stations, you stay in the wardroom or your bunk. Clear? Crystal clear, sir. What exactly are you supposed to be observing? Chinese submarine tactics, their acoustic signatures, their evasion patterns. Anything that will help us develop better combat models. The models we've been using were designed for Cold War scenarios, Russians in the North Atlantic, but the Chinese fight differently. I need to understand how they think, how they operate.
Made sense. Annoying, but made sense. Stay out of the way and we'll get along fine. 1,300 hours. The crew was back aboard. Tired, frustrated, some of them angry about the canceled family visits. They were professionals. They did their jobs. Rodriguez looked like death warmed over. Martinez, our best mechanic, had dark circles under his eyes that made him look 20 years older. Morrison moved like a man twice his age. But they were here, ready to fight, ready to go back into the dark water and hunt Chinese submarines. That's what submariners do. We fight. We don't quit. 1,400 hours. Tampa got underway. Again. I stood on the bridge as we motored out of Kings Bay. Behind us, other submarines were preparing to follow. The fleet was mobilizing. Finally. Maybe too late, but mobilizing. Chen called up from below. Ready to dive. Ready to dive. Ready to leave the world of sunlight and fresh air. Return to the world of red lights and recycled oxygen. Ready to go back to war.
Clear the bridge. Prepare to dive.
I took one last look at the Georgia coast. Wondered if I'd ever see it again. Wondered if any of us would.
Dive! Dive!
The klaxon sounded. I dropped down through the hatch, sealed it behind me. Heard the vents opening, felt the deck tilt as we submerged. Back into the darkness, back into the fight. At 300 feet, we leveled off and turned south, back toward Florida, back toward the Chinese invasion fleet that was, according to intelligence, regrouping for another attempt. Chen called up from below. Sir, the crew needs to know. How long is this patrol? As long as it takes. XO, we just watched San Diego burn on TV. Los Angeles, San Francisco. The Chinese are hitting us everywhere at once. This isn't about patrol schedules anymore. This is about survival. We stay out here until either we have killed every Chinese submarine in the Gulf or we're dead ourselves. She was quiet for a moment. The crew's not going to like that answer. They don't have to like it. They just have to do it. She nodded and left. I stood alone in the control room, watching the sonar display. No contacts yet, just empty water. But somewhere ahead, Chinese ships were gathering. Chinese submarines were hunting. And we were heading straight toward them. Commander Stevens? Stevens appeared at my elbow. Captain, how long until we reach the patrol area? 12 hours. And how long until we engage enemy forces? I looked at him. Young guy, smart, probably, but completely unprepared for what was coming. Commander, in about 12 hours, you're going to see things you've never seen before. Hear things you've never heard. You're going to be scared. That's normal. Just stay out of the way and let us do our jobs. As he retreated to the wardroom, Chen returned.
Captain, crew morale is low. They thought they were getting rests. Now they're heading back out after 6 hours.
I know.
Sir, should you address the crew? Explain the situation?
Should I? What would I say? Sorry, boys, but the war got worse while we were gone. Sorry you don't get to see your families. Sorry we're probably all gonna die out here. Yeah, that would really boost morale. But she was right. The crew deserved to hear from their captain. Put me through to all compartments. A moment later, Captain has the mic. I picked up the handset, tried to think of what to say. Nothing came. So I just told him the truth. This is the captain. I know you're tired. I know you expected liberty, time with families, real rest. I know this recall is unfair. But here's the situation. While we were fighting off Florida, the Chinese hit the West Coast. San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, thousands dead, multiple ships sunk. The Pacific Fleet is in chaos. I paused. Let that sink in. We're heading back to Romeo 4 because intelligence says the Chinese are planning another invasion attempt, bigger than before. More ships, more submarines, more Marines. And we're one of the few boats with actual combat experience against these bastards. That makes us valuable. That makes us necessary. Another pause. I won't lie to you. This is going to be hard. Harder than the last patrol. We're going to be out here longer, fighting more enemies with less support. Some of us might not make it back, but we're submariners. This is what we do. We fight from the shadows. We protect the homeland. We kill the enemy before they can kill Americans. I took a breath. The Chinese think they can invade our country? Think they can land Marines on our soil? We're going to prove them wrong. We're going to hurt them so badly they wish they had never started this war. That's our job. That's our mission. And we're going to do it because we're the United States Navy, and we don't quit. Ever. I hung up the handset. Chen looked at me. Good speech, Captain. Was it? It was honest. That's what they needed. Maybe they just needed to hear if someone acknowledged how scared they were. 0200 hours, October 24th. We entered Romeo 4. Immediately, sonar started picking up contacts. Lots of contacts. Captain, multiple contacts bearing 045 through 135, range varying from 30 to 50 miles. Initial count is
Sir, I'm counting at least 25 distinct contacts. 25 ships. More than the first invasion attempt. More than the second invasion attempt. The Chinese had brought everything they had. Classification. Working on it, Captain. I'm seeing transports, escorts, submarines. This is a major formation. A major formation heading for Florida, heading for American soil. And we were supposed to stop them. 1 submarine, 6 torpedoes remaining after emergency resupply against 25 ships. The math was worse than impossible, but we do it anyway. Because that's what Americans do. We fight. 25 ships. I stared at the sonar display like it might change if I looked hard enough. It didn't. Still 25 contacts spread across 30 miles of ocean, all heading toward the Florida coast at steady 12 knots. Captain, Rodriguez said quietly, I'm seeing pattern consistency with previous invasion attempts. Transports in center, heavy escorts on flanks, but there's something different this time. They've got submarines running ahead of the formation. At least 4 boats spread in a picket line. They're screening for us. Smart. They'd learned. After losing ships to Tampa and Columbia in previous engagements, they'd adapted. Now they were using submarines to hunt submarines before the transports came into range. Can you classify the screening boats? 2 Type 039As, 1 Shang class, and the 4th one is definitely Type 095. She's running quiet, really quiet. If she wasn't moving, I might not detect her at all. Commander Stevens had appeared behind me, laptop in hand. Commander, the Type 095 represents China's most advanced submarine technology. If we could get acoustic data on her... Commander, right now I'm more concerned with not getting killed by her. Yes, sir, of course. I studied the tactical display. 4 Chinese submarines between us and the invasion fleet. 4 boats that knew we were out here somewhere, hunting us just as hard as we were hunting them. And we had 6 torpedoes. XO, what's Columbia's position? Chen checked the tactical plot. Last reported position was 40 miles northwest. Radio silent, but they should be in the area. Should be. Not definite. In submarine warfare, nobody ever knew exactly where anyone else was. That's what made it both effective and terrifying. Captain, Morrison from Weapons, recommend we target the Type 095. Take out their most capable boat first. Negative. The 095 is in the rear. We'd have to shoot through the other boats to reach her. Priority is the transports. Sir, to reach the transports, we have to get through that screening line. He was right. 4 submarines stood between us and 20-plus transports. We couldn't attack the transports without dealing with the screens first. Catch 22. Deal with the submarines and waste our limited torpedoes on warships instead of transports. Ignore them and get killed before we reached the transports. Captain, detecting increased active sonar from the screening boats. They're pinging heavily. Active sonar. Broadcasting sound waves, listening for echoes. The Chinese screens were aggressively hunting. They knew we were out here, just didn't know where yet. Make depth 400 feet. Slow to 3 knots, go ultra quiet. The boat went silent. Every non-essential system shut down. Crew froze in place. We became as close to invisible as physics would allow. Range to near screening boat. 17 miles, Captain. 17 miles. Outside torpedo range, but not by much. And if they got active sonar contact on us... Captain! Rodriguez's voice went high. Underwater explosion bearing 280. Columbia just fired. Columbia? Mitchell had engaged the screening line from a different angle. Multiple explosions! Columbia's fish are hitting! On sonar, I could see it happening. Torpedo impacts, breaking noises. One of the Chinese screens was dying. Screening line is breaking formation. They're turning to engage Columbia. The Chinese submarines had abandoned their picket line, converging on Columbia's position. Classic response to submarine attack. Find the shooter, kill the shooter. But it left a gap in their screen.
a hole we could exploit.
XO, plot course through the screen gap. Best speed consistent with stealth. Aye, Captain. Captain, Columbia's evading. Multiple Chinese torpedoes in the water. Mitchell was in trouble. She'd killed one screen boat, but now the other three were hammering her position with everything they had, and we couldn't help. If we maneuvered to assist Columbia, we'd give away our position. The whole screening line would collapse on us. Sometimes in war, you have to let your friends fight alone. Course plotted, Captain. Bearing 045, range to transport formation 22 miles. Take us through, ahead slow. Tampa crept through the gap in the Chinese screen. Behind us, the battle between Columbia and the three remaining screen boats raged. Explosions, torpedo launches, the sounds of submarines trying to kill each other. We kept moving. Had to trust Mitchell to handle her own fight. Range to transport formation, 18 miles. Closer, getting into shooting range, but we still had those escorts to worry about. Destroyers and frigates that would hammer us the moment we fired. Captain, I count 12 transports, 8 destroyers, 4 frigates. Formation is maintaining defensive pattern. 12 transports, maybe 12,000 Chinese Marines, enough to establish a real beachhead, bring in heavy equipment, turn an invasion into an occupation. Weapons, give me targeting priority on transports. Morrison studied his display. Lead transport is biggest, probably carrying the most troops. Recommend we target her first. Firing solution? Working it? Yes, sir, good solution. Bearing 043, range 16 miles. 16 miles. Close enough. But with only 6 torpedoes, we needed to make every shot count. Captain, Stevens again, voice nervous. Sir, with respect, engaging now alerts all 24 remaining ships to your position. Have you considered waiting for a better tactical situation? I looked at him. Young guy, smart, probably had a dozen mathematical models that said attacking now was stupid. Commander, there is no better tactical situation. Either we attack now while Columbia has them distracted, or we wait until they land those 12,000 Marines on American soil. What do your models say about that? He swallowed, didn't answer. Firing point procedures, tubes 1 through 4. Simultaneous launch on 4 separate transports. Sir? Morrison looked surprised. 4 fish on 4 targets instead of multiple shots per target? We don't have enough torpedoes to guarantee kills with multiple shots. Better to damage 4 transports than sink 1 and leave 3 untouched. It was a gamble, but this whole damn war was a gamble. Solutions ready on 4 transports, Captain. Ship ready. Weapons ready. Shoot tubes 1 through 4. Ripple fire, 5-second intervals. 4 torpedoes left the boat in 20 seconds. 4 Mark 48s racing toward 4 Chinese transports. Time to impact 7 minutes. Reload tubes 1 and 2 with remaining fish. Aye, Captain. 7 minutes. Then every Chinese ship would know exactly where we were. Come right to 270, ahead 2/3, make depth 500 feet. We turned away from the formation, going deeper, preparing to run. As soon as those torpedoes hit, the entire Chinese escort group would converge on our firing position. 6 minutes to impact. Behind us, the fight between Columbia and the screen boats was still raging. Mitchell was giving them hell, but she was outnumbered 3 to 1. 5 minutes. Captain, detecting multiple splashes from escort vessels. They're dropping depth charges on Columbia's last known position. Columbia was in serious trouble, but there was nothing we could do except complete our own attack. 4 minutes.
Commander Stevens was gripping his laptop like it was a life preserver. His face had gone pale, probably realizing that mathematical models didn't mean much when real torpedoes were about to hit real ships.
3 minutes. Tubes 1 and 2 reloaded. 2 fish remaining, Captain.
2 torpedoes left. After this attack, we'd be down to our last 2 weapons against 20 ships that would be hunting us.
2 minutes.
Captain, Rodriguez's voice cracked. Massive underwater explosions bearing 280. Multiple breaking up noises. Sir, I think Columbia just took multiple hits.
Columbia. Mitchell's boat. My friend's boat. Can you confirm? Negative, sir. Too much noise in the water, but the explosions were consistent with torpedo impacts on submarine hulls. Columbia might be gone, might be crippled, might be fighting for survival right now, and we couldn't help. 1 minute to impact on our weapons. Had to focus, had to complete our mission. Mourn later. 30 seconds. Impact on first transport. Explosion registered on sonar. Loud, satisfying, deadly. Impact on second transport. Impact on third and fourth transports. All 4 weapons have hit their targets. 4 transports hit, 4 ships carrying 3,000 Chinese Marines now taking on water, fighting for survival. Assess damage. All 4 transports are dead in the water. I'm hearing flooding noises, bulkheads collapsing. They're in serious trouble, Captain. 4 transports crippled. Maybe not sinking, but definitely out of the invasion. Multiple splashes. Escorts are dropping depth charges. They've got our firing position. Of course they did. The moment our torpedoes launched, we'd given away our location. Emergency deep, all ahead flank. Tampa dove hard, pushing 600 feet. Behind us, depth charges started exploding. Too far away yet, but getting closer. Come left to 180, maximum turns. We ran south, engines screaming, making noise that every sonar operator in the Gulf could hear. But speed was more important than stealth now. Multiple torpedo launches. Chinese escorts have fired. Count, 12 torpedoes in the water. 12 Chinese fish, all hunting us, all closing fast. Time to impact. 8 minutes, Captain. 8 minutes to live unless we did something brilliant. Deploy all remaining countermeasures. Pattern Delta Echo. Every noisemaker, every bubble generator, every decoy we had left went into the water. Our last defensive measures between us and 12 incoming torpedoes. Captain, Rodriguez again. Detecting multiple surface contacts, bearing 090, American surface ships. American ships. Help had arrived. Finally. Classification. 4 destroyers, 2 cruisers coming in fast. They're engaging the Chinese formation. The cavalry, late, but here. Chinese torpedoes acquiring countermeasures. 8 weapons have locked on to decoys. 4 still tracking us. 4 torpedoes, better than 12, but still 4 too many. Range to nearest weapon, 3,000 yards in closing. Mile and a half, maybe 3 minutes. XO, prepare for emergency blow. Emergency blow ready, Captain. Deploy mobile decoy. Our last mobile decoy shot away. Last-ditch defense. If this didn't work, we were dead. 2 torpedoes acquiring decoy. 2 still tracking. 2 left. Still too many. Range 1,000 yards. Half mile. 1 minute. This was it. Either we lived or died in the next 60 seconds.
Captain, Rodriguez's voice went high. Columbia is on underwater telephone. She's alive. Put her through. Crackling static, then Mitchell's voice. Strained, tired, but alive. Tampa, Columbia. We're hurt bad, but still in the fight. What's your status? Columbia, we've got 2 fish closing fast. Could use some help. Understood. Stand by. What could she do? Columbia was wounded, probably flooding, barely operational. Tampa, Columbia, we just fired our last 2 torpedoes on intercept course. They should cross the Chinese fish in 30 seconds. She was using her last weapons to save us. Shooting her torpedoes to intercept the Chinese torpedoes hunting Tampa. Range to enemy weapons 500 yards. Quarter mile, 30 seconds. Brace for impact, I called out. 15 seconds. 10. 5. Explosion, but not close, maybe 200 yards away. Second explosion.
Mitchell's torpedoes had intercepted the Chinese fish, both weapons destroyed before they could reach us. We'd survived. Again, because Mitchell had sacrificed her last weapons to save us. Columbia, Tampa, thank you. Buy me a beer when this is over, Cole. If there was a when. If either of us survived. Captain, the Chinese formation is breaking up. Multiple ships are on fire or sinking. The American surface group is tearing them apart. I grabbed the periscope and raised it. Risky, but I needed to see. Dawn was breaking. Pink light spreading across the Gulf, and everywhere ships were burning. Chinese transports dead in the water, escorts listing heavily, American destroyers maneuvering between them, firing guns and missiles at point-blank range. The invasion fleet was dying. Downscope, take us to 100 feet. We rose slowly through churned water. At 100 feet, I grabbed the underwater telephone. American Surface Group, this is USS Tampa, requesting sit rep. Tampa, USS Stockdale, good shooting out there. We count 4 transports sunk or sinking, 3 more heavily damaged. Chinese escorts are withdrawing. The invasion's broken. The invasion's broken. We'd done it. Tampa and Columbia and the American Surface Group had stopped the 3rd invasion attempt. Stockdale, be advised, USS Columbia is heavily damaged and requesting assistance. Already on it, Tampa. We've got a rescue tug en route to her position. I hung up the underwater telephone, looked around the control room. My crew, exhausted, filthy, barely standing, but alive. Still alive. XO, what's our weapon status? 2 torpedoes remaining, Captain. 2 fish. Out of 24, we'd expended 22 torpedoes and 4 days of combat. Probably a record. Captain, Commander Stevens approached, laptop clutched to his chest. Sir, I got data on the Type 095, acoustic signature, maneuvering patterns, everything. This is going to revolutionize our submarine warfare models. Good for you, Commander. He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time. Captain, I owe you an apology. My model said engaging that formation was tactically unsound, that you would likely be destroyed. I was wrong. Your models didn't account for Columbia, or the American Surface Group, or the fact that sometimes you just have to fight, even when the math says you lose. Yes, sir. I understand that now.
Good. Because the next time you build a model, Commander, remember that submarines are crewed by human beings. We don't always do what the math says. Sometimes we do what's necessary. Yes, sir. Over the next 6 hours, we helped coordinate cleanup operations. American ships searching for survivors from sunken Chinese vessels. Salvage operations on the transports. Damage assessment. The final tally was brutal. China had lost 8 transports, 6 escorts, 4 submarines. Maybe 8,000 Marines dead, another 4,000 captured. But the cost to us? Columbia was barely afloat, taking on water, her crew fighting to keep her alive. Stockdale had taken a missile hit. USS Porter was gone with all hands. And Tampa, we were down to 2 torpedoes, minimal countermeasures, and a crew running on fumes. But we'd won. Stopped 3 invasion attempts, killed maybe 30 Chinese ships, saved the Florida coast. That had to count for something. 1800 hours, October 24th. We surfaced 20 miles off Tampa Bay. The city where I'd grown up, where my parents lived, where my sister taught school. The city was still there, still standing. Lights coming on as evening fell. Traffic moving on the bridges, life continuing. We'd saved it. Tampa and Columbia and every American sailor who'd fought in these waters had saved it. I climbed the bridge. Fresh evening air hit me like a blessing. Behind us, the setting sun painted the sky orange and red. Ahead, the lights of home. Chen climbed up beside me. Captain, we just received word. Our families are being allowed to meet us at Kings Bay tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, 12 hours away. After 4 days of combat, 12 hours felt like nothing. XO, pass the word to the crew. When we reach Kings Bay, everyone gets 2 weeks' liberty, no exceptions. She smiled.
First smile I'd seen from her in days. They'll like that, Captain. They earned it. We stood on the bridge in silence, watching the Florida coast. Somewhere out there, my parents were probably watching the news, trying to figure out if their son was alive or dead. Tomorrow, they'd find out. Tomorrow, I'd get to hug my mom, shake my dad's hand, tell them I was okay. Tomorrow, we'd rest. But tonight, we'd just sail. Sail toward home, toward safety, toward the families we'd fought to protect. The war wasn't over, not even close. The Chinese still held portions of the East Coast, still had fleets in the Pacific, still had the capability to strike again. For now, for tonight, we'd won. We'd held the line. We'd proven that American submarines could still fight, could still win against impossible odds. I thought about Rodriguez lying in a hospital bed in Georgia, asking if we'd hurt them back. Yeah, kid, we'd hurt them back. We hurt them so badly they're retreating across the Atlantic with their tails between their legs. We hurt them because we're Americans. Because this is our water, our coast, our country. And we don't lose. Not ever. Not when it matters. The Tempest sailed toward Kings Bay as darkness fell. Behind us, the Gulf of Mexico was quiet now, peaceful. You'd never know that 4 days ago it had been a battlefield. But we'd remember. Every sailor aboard would remember what it felt like to fight for 72 hours straight. Would remember the fear, the exhaustion, the desperate hope that we'd live to see another sunrise. Would remember what it meant to defend America when America needed defending.
And if the Chinese came back, if they tried again to invade our shores, we'd be ready. Tampa would be ready. Columbia would be ready. Every American submarine would be ready. Because we're submariners. We fight from the shadows. We kill silently. We protect the homeland. And we never, ever quit. 72 hours stranded in a submarine off the coast of Florida. 72 hours that changed everything. 72 hours that proved Americans still know how to fight, still know how to win, still know how to be Americans.